Hey guys, it's Jess from All Done Dancing, and this video is going to be about my meningitis story, as the title would suggest. So I know I filmed a video on how I became an amputee, and I'm not sure how much overlap there will be, but I know a lot of people question, like, how are you an amputee, why do you have scars, etc. And I posted initially these stories to my blog over on Tumblr, which I will link kind of below in the description. I was just eating. Anyway, that is not important. And it looks like I posted them back in April of 2013, so 2.5 years ago. I guess there's one story from my point of view and then one from my dad's point of view, so that's kind of interesting. But I guess I got this idea from somebody else talking about whatever their disorder, diagnosis, whatever it was. So this will probably touch on the same things, and if it is repetitive, I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of get it all into one place, and I was going to get all dolled up and really like do my makeup and curl my hair, and then I was like, you're probably just going to be crying during this video, so maybe don't do that. And that is what I decided. I normally have class on Tuesday evenings, but it was canceled, so I have some free time again. Anyway, so yeah, so back in 1986, I was going to be 2 years old that summer. Shortly after Easter, I believe, I started, I don't know, I got really sick really fast. So I guess I don't really know dates. I'm going to kind of just, well, I guess I don't know dates. It was like May of 1986, I believe, that this all sort of started happening, and I mean, since I wasn't even 2, I don't know dates. I know what memories I have, and that is about it. So yeah, so back in May of 1986, or maybe April, I started getting purple splotchy marks on my arms, and my face, and my legs, and my torso, and it looked like chicken pox, but I also had a really, really high fever, and my dad or my mom was like, this isn't right, we need to get you to the hospital, like, right now, and they must have called, like, a doctor on call who told them, like, yeah, that's not okay, she needs to be in the hospital, like, right now. So my dad and my mom lived about 30 minutes away from the hospital at the time, so he basically sped all the way, like, flew through as many red lights as he could just to get me there in a time-sensitive manner. They brought me into the ER. Luckily, if I am remembering this right, and by remembering it, I mean I'm remembering other people's memories that they have told me, there was a nurse on call whose son had happened to have meningitis recently, and I don't recall if he survived at all, but she knew the symptoms because meningitis does present itself in a way that it seems like a really bad flu, and a lot of times hospitals will just be like, there's nothing we can do, you have the flu, go home and rest it off, and then people end up passing away because it's such a terrible disease. Excuse me. So luckily she was on call that night. She recognized the symptoms. She called the appropriate doctor who came in and started doing the treatment or keeping an eye on, you know, my vital signs and what was happening. Yeah, my limbs progressed to turn basically black. Well, at least my legs did. I have my blog article open, but I didn't really look at it before. Guess not. Okay. Wait, 1 second. Okay, of course, my laptop with the pictures from this time period is not working, and I cannot access them until I get a new computer and they transfer the files, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, so my legs basically turned black from oxygen deprivation. The meningitis I had was meningococcal. Something? No. I don't even know. Why don't we just look here? Oh, my dad's story has... Okay, it's May 20th that this all started happening. May 27th. May 27th, 1986. Okay. So I guess I can just kind of summarize what my dad was saying. So on May 27th, I was in the clinic, or May 28th. I had 103 fever and strange spots. They rushed me to an appointment at 8 a.m. Okay, so the spots that started off as chickenpox size spread, and they got much larger. And they did blood draws. They did a lot of testing on my eyes, nose, and glands. I probably should have read through this stuff beforehand because I don't really know anything about it. But anyways, this is my story, so I'll just let you guys read that on your own. So anyways, the spots get worse. My legs basically turn black, and to, I guess, save my life, they were like, we're going to have to cut your daughter's limbs. And so the right one is kind of at the knee, and the left one is through the knee, if that makes any sense. I know I've shown my legs in photos on my blog, but not necessarily on the YouTube section of my sharing of my story, just because so far I've been filming with my computer and not really a camera. So there's that. And let's see. Yeah, we'll just have you read that over there. So then I was in the hospital a really long time. I believe it was a couple days before they amputated my limbs to kind of save me. And they did it kind of, not haphazardly, but they did it to save as much of my leg and tissue as possible. And as a result, after being in the hospital for 3 months that year, I've never gone back to have any revisions. And now it's coming up like, you should have had revisions, yada, yada, yada. Well, now I'm 31 years old and I'm not about to have revisions because I've learned how to walk on the legs that I have. So, yeah, I'm not doing that. Anyway, so I have lots of scarring. It's minimized now because I had reconstructive surgery in my 20s. This is my scar tissue without any makeup, and I did just post how I do my makeup, and it's not like concealing my scars totally, but it's making it less of a focal point of my face. So yeah, I guess I'm not really sure what I was going to say about this. Okay, let's go back to June of 1986. I am basically living in the burn unit because that's how my scars formed on my body. They were very tight and red, and they needed a lot of care. And since there was scarring on both of my arms and my legs were just amputated, and I had scarring on my face, this was kind of a constant process, I assume. Like, somebody needed to always be there and always make sure there wasn't, sepsis or further infection that's really damaging. And sepsis a lot of times results in further amputation. And I know a lot of times for people with meningitis who just get the typical form, not this rare form that I happen to contract, they start losing fingers and toes and the tips of their nose. So the furthest extremities on their body that stick out, I guess is how I would describe it. Typically, I don't know if it's deteriorating or what, but again, my form of meningitis made my blood septic, and so basically my body was just trying to kill itself, and that's pretty crazy. It's crazy that in 1986 someone even knew to check for these symptoms. I mean, that was 29 years ago now. Yeah, I definitely lucked out. I believe there was at least 3 or 4 other people, I'm not sure if it was just children or if it was adults and children, who also had meningitis, and I don't think a single one of those people or children survived their meningitis. It was kind of I don't know if it was an outbreak, but it was definitely some sort of epidemic at the time here in Wisconsin. So yeah, luckily I lived in a very well-educated part of the state. We have top-of-the-line medical services, and doctors come from all over the world to come and work here in our hospital. So I really lucked out. I'm just dropping things. Okay. So yeah, I spent a great deal of time in the hospital that year. I celebrated my second birthday in the hospital, and I think it was someone else's birthday at the time, or they just brought in these Disney characters. But I remember kind of celebrating my birthday at the time when these Disney characters of all different movies came in. Yeah, they kind of just interacted with the kids who were in like the intensive care unit, and that was me and a couple of other kids, and we all had these. Okay. Just gonna take a minute to kind of collect myself. It's not even that sad, it's just very happy. Okay, so at my second birthday, where I celebrated it, I'm not sure if it was actually my birthday or not, I don't think it was. These Disney characters came in. Okay. It's just so nice that they, I don't know who did it, but it's nice. It's just nice. Knowing that the medical community kind of cared enough to give the kids in the ICU a normal interaction, as normal as possible, of course. I mean, all of us were hooked up to IVs and whatever machines we needed to keep our bodies functioning properly now that we were sick. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we all had red wagons. Maybe there wasn't that many. Maybe it was just me and this other boy. Yeah. Much harder to talk. God. So we each had our wagons, and we had blankets and pillows to prop up. I know I had pillows to kind of prop up my legs and make sure I was healing properly, and I had a Pooh Bear toy, which I still have. I should have grabbed it for this crying session that I'm filming. So yeah, these characters came in, and we took pictures, and we just kind of had a good afternoon, those of us who were well enough to participate, and I'm not sure how long after my legs were amputated. Clearly they were already amputated, since I was sitting in I was sitting in a wagon. Oh, God. To get around the hospital, clearly I was done with being bedridden. I didn't want to sit in my room anymore. But also in my room, luckily I stayed in the same room for a bit of an extended period of time. And so we could decorate it, and I think my dad would decorate it with different characters. I just remember it being like Care Bears or Winnie the Pooh, and I'm not sure what else it was. It was whatever I really enjoyed at the time, and being 2, it was characters like that, so I'm sure we have pictures somewhere, and I don't know if they're in any of the pictures I have on my computer, but I really, yeah. I mean, it's a sad time to look back on, but it's nice to see that my mental well-being was still being addressed, and that I needed to have fun. Like, I was still a toddler, and I just needed to have, an afternoon to play with my friends, even if we were all stuck in wagons or wheelchairs or bedridden. It was just nice looking back on these photos a few years ago to see that, and I've looked at them before, but it was only briefly. It was only like flipping through them and wondering why these photo albums were just... My mom used to keep it in this bookshelf where our telephone books were, and I thought that was really strange. I was like, why? Why are they just right here when we walk in the house? I don't want to know about it. But really I did. I did need to know about it. So I think the idea was there. Like, my mom wanted to talk about it, but didn't know how. And I would only flip through it when she wasn't home. Which is weird to think about. Like, 25 years later. Okay. Yep, it's really good. I did not put on makeup. I probably should have taken a picture for this video beforehand, because now I'm just going to be a splotchy mess, or maybe not. Whatever. And so, let's move. So on my actual birthday, the fair was in town. And a funny story is that 2 years prior, when my mom was going into labor on July 19th, she was walking around the fair with her friends, just thinking she had, like, a bad stomach cramp. Oh, Jesus. I have to wash my hands and my face after this. Okay, excuse me. I'm a real lady, in case anyone is wondering. Yeah, so 2 years prior, when my mom was going into labor, and she didn't realize that my mom was pretty young when she had me. She was only 18. So she was at the fair, walking around, having fun, and she's like, my stomach kind of hurts, you guys should take me home. And so instead of driving to the hospital, which would have been about 2.5 miles from there, they drove back to the little suburb of Madison where my grandparents lived. And my grandma looked at her and was like, are you crazy? Like, you're in labor, you need to be at the hospital right now. And so that's kind of funny. Like, I feel like I'll never forget when the fair is in town, because that's technically where my mom started going into labor. Yeah. So yeah, on July 19th of 1986, my family, my parents especially, were sick of me just sitting in the hospital. I think the only interaction really I've had outside of doctors and nurses and family was that visit with the characters. And so my dad was like, I don't care. At least this is what I remember being told. Like, I'm signing you out of the hospital. We're going to the fair. You're going to have fun. And, like, I remember seeing pictures, again, in that album that my mom kept with the telephone books, of these two clowns from, like, the Lions Club or something. I'm just very emotional today. Should not have filmed today. Rainbow and Sunshine. And I know a lot of people are, like, creeped out by clowns, and I'm not really creeped out, because I always think back to this one time going to the fair, and I don't know if, I'm trying to remember these pictures that I saw back when I was, like, a middle schooler or younger. Like, these photos were just out at weird times. At least I thought they were weird, but clearly my mom was, like, talking to other people about my past or whatever, which is fine. Everybody needs to talk about, like, a life-changing situation like that. I just remember thinking it was weird because we never really sat down and talked about it, which, no fault of her own, like, how you start that conversation. Anyway, there were these two clowns, Rainbow and Sunshine, who were just the sweetest, and I think maybe they sent birthday cards and Christmas cards. I'm not really sure. Hopefully my grandma or my parents can tell me otherwise. But they took pictures with me, and they were just very nice. And I also wonder if there's a picture to kind of spark any sort of memory. Excuse me. Okay, I don't see a picture here, which is a bummer because my other computer isn't working. Yeah. I don't really remember when we went home from the hospital. Let's see. Okay, so in August of that year, we were discharged from the hospital. I could finally go home. And then a month and a half later, or like a month later, my brother was born. And yeah, I guess I was just back in normal spirits. It took maybe a year or two before I started getting fitted for prosthesis. Um, I've never had like a second bout of meningitis. I haven't, I mean, so going back a little bit, because my blood was becoming septic, I had a couple transfusions, I believe. And so, I mean, that's really the only thing I can think of besides the amputations and the scar tissue issue. Yep. Yeah, I had skin grafts from my back for the scar tissue that's on my face and my arms and my residual limbs that go into my prosthesis. And the doctors weren't ever able to tell us how I got this, and nobody else I knew had it. It was random. It could be anywhere. It could be airborne. It could be, I don't know, on a door handle. I don't really know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor. They just said it's completely, like, my immune system clearly attracted it, and I still survived. I know there was, like, within the first 24 hours, if you're not in hospital getting treatment, like, basically you're guaranteed not to survive. So it was a good thing that I was taken to the hospital immediately and I was, in treatment, doing whatever they did. I'm not sure. Yeah. And one of the first memories I have, I guess the best way I can put it is that there's just a bright light. There was just a very bright, bright light. And then I came back. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I know in my dad's blog post, he put that I was in I think, medically induced coma because I was in so much pain after everything that was happening. But to my body, I don't know. I guess I don't really know. A near-death experience, perhaps? I'm not sure. I just saw a white, very bright light, and it's something that just kind of pops into my head every now and then. Yeah, moving forward, I guess, like, since I have had reconstructive surgeries, I try to always wear sunscreen to kind of lessen the redness of my scars, because those will be easily susceptible to skin cancer because it is mutated skin to begin with. I also, in the winter, there's kind of these silicone gel sheeting things I've held on to, and you kind of just apply it to a scar, you leave it there in increasing amounts, and kind of softens scar tissue and whatnot. It makes the scar less visible. I haven't ever had any other blood transfusions. I mean, I could donate blood, I suppose, but when I went to the plasma center in like 2011, I was told I could not donate, not because I had a blood disorder or blood disease, but because I lived in Germany in 1985. So don't do that. You could possibly be a carrier for mad cow disease, and now I've been blacklisted for that. So that's kind of funny and also not. Yeah, I don't really know what else. When I went away to college, I figured I didn't need the meningitis shot because I had already had meningitis, but you do. Everyone should get it. Everyone should be, the only prevention is getting that shot when you are a baby. And, again, when you're like 18, I don't know, I think you get it. Maybe it's only twice. I'm not really sure. You should contact your doctor about many of these things in regards to meningitis. But yeah, I'll definitely link below these two articles. Not sure if I'll have a follow-up to this or not. But yeah, I know a lot of my family members spent an entire summer at the hospital with me, which, yeah, I don't even know. You can't even think people for that. Like, especially when you're two, how do you even thank somebody for giving their time when you're sitting there ill and unable to move and you're just healing? So yeah, please get vaccinated. I know there's a lot of hoopla going around saying vaccinations are causing such and such, but honestly, get vaccinated. Yeah, the temporary pain of getting a shot is definitely worth it. And I mean, if you're able to get a shot and you don't have a compromised immune system, you should definitely do it. Because for those people who do have a compromised immune system and can't get the shot, they are way more susceptible. If you're, you know, you need to do it for them. You need to do it for the people who can't get the shots. So yeah, stay up to date on that. And not just for meningitis, but for everything. Like everything that's necessary. Again, talk to your doctor. But yeah. So this has been my scrambly, rambly story, and now I have 2 videos in a row that are really, really long, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will continue to upload new content in the future. Bye!